Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of The Equalizer, a great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Let's kind of start off with that conversation Dante had with his dad. I thought that was a very interesting conversation, and that conversation has implications not just for everything in this episode, but potentially what the future means for Dante on a personal level, but also his relationship with Robin. And for him, it's like, for him, like his dad, talks about why he did what he did. It's a situation where it's like, yeah, I might have put away, they want to put me away for some of the bad stuff I did. But the fact of the matter is, we kind of have to fight toe and toe with like the criminals on the streets. Like the fact of the matter is, we aren't getting the proper equipment we need because it doesn't, because of budgetary constraints. But it's like the criminals don't have budgets. They are well equipped. The $70,000 and the pension that I would get, like their criminals walk around with $70,000 in their pocket like it's nothing. And so it's a situation for him. It's a complicated thing because he's trying to justify it like, yeah, I'm putting away bad people, but it's also like you're getting paid at the same time, so how does that really justify it? But it's like that money was what was necessary to take care of their family. So it's such a, as he talks about, a gray area where it's like, there's an aspect of the avenging aspect where you get, you have your characters like the Punisher and stuff like that. Obviously I'm focusing on like the fictitious aspect of things, but but it's like, up to a certain point, you can understand why they do what they do. Like, that these are very bad people that need to be kind of brought to justice. But, for Dante, that line of what justice is so skewed nowadays because as cops, they're meant to not just only fight for justice, but uphold the law. But it's also like, that's such a complicated thing because things aren't so black and white because there are shades of gray. Because of his connections and everything, he's like, oh, I know what you're talking about. I know that you're having conflicts within yourself because of this vigilante you're chasing after. And so at the end of the day, he's telling Dante there is no line, there's just shades of gray, and just like where you exist in those shades of gray, and like how much you're like what you're allowing yourself to do and all that, So a lot of his principles are being compromised because of his relationship with Robin. Because, yes, he doesn't agree with how she goes about a lot of things, but at the same time, she gets results because he's so held to his own standard and held up to this line. Because he's also holding himself to a higher standard because he feels the need to prove himself that he's not like his dad. So that's making him go even more above and beyond when it comes to being on the straight and narrow, So you can tell it's really conflicting him. And obviously, this particular case that found its way to Robin, a lot closer to home than any previous case, as Delilah's hanging out with her friends, and there was a hit out on this particular guy who works for a cartel, Alejandro, and he not only gets hit, but so does Jason, one of the boys Delilah's with. And obviously, Robin, it scares the crap out of her. Because for one, it's like, oh my God, this is someone so close to you got hurt. But also, that could have easily been my little girl out there. That could be her, like, potentially fighting for her life like this. And obviously, Robin's trying to be there for Jason's mom. And obviously, like, one of the other parents, like, she's just kind of like, I can't believe you were in that neighborhood. And it's just like, Robin was like, just kind of ignore her. And she's like, yeah, I did. I am. She's like, I've dealt with people like her, like, my entire life. Because trying to blame it like it's on Jason's fault for them being in that neighborhood. When we later on find out it was her daughter's decision to go to that neighborhood. And so everything kind of falls on Jason. Even later on, her mom referring to Jason as, like, a game banger. And it's like, that's the sad thing. And like, I don't think she ever bothered, like, before Delilah corrected her, like her mom never, like, the little girl never bothered to like correct her mom on it. But it's like, even Vi later on, it's like, I get it, she was scared, but it's still, which we'll get into those circumstances later. But it's just, it's a thing of like, right, I get it, you're scared for your child and everything, but you're not the only one. Other people's children are mixed up in this. You're also saying that while someone's child is fighting for their life, as Vi kind of talks about later on. And obviously for the doctors, like Jason lost a lot of blood. They have no idea how this is going to all play out. And obviously this hits home personally for Robin because like for her, it's like, that could have been my daughter. Now some innocent little boy, it's like, she's like, no, I want payback, and Melanie was like, how you feel? She's like, I want payback. She's like, no, how are you doing? And so Melanie and Harry both have it like, now we got your back, even to the point it's like, all right, they find out that whoever this is a rival or whatever. So it's like, we could just leave this to the Melina cartel, let them take care of this. But Robin's like, that'd be an easy option, but she can't take the chance that more innocent people will get caught up in the crossfire. So she goes and confronts the cartel herself. Got one of their people duct taped with a grenade in his hand, and she's got like a wire ready just to yank the pin out at any time. And she gets information finding out that basically a European crime syndicate is coming in, and they basically want to take over the cartel's well, they want kind of some of their infrastructure, but the cartel is, Melina was like, no, the Melina cartel doesn't Melina cartel, we ain't messing with anybody else. Obviously, like, Robin's not going into why this case is personal to her, but she just says it's personal for me. And obviously, like, the shooter, his name is like what, Cotier or something like that, and it turns out like he's the they have his girlfriend, and so Robin like gets her released. Like, you get more flies of honey than vinegar, because it's like, right, they're not going to get any information out of her, plus they will kill her, so I'm not trying to get her killed, but it's like Robin put a tracker on her just to make sure, because it's like, yeah, probably going to lead me to her boyfriend, what she does. So Robin decides to call Dante. It's like, she can handle this herself, but she's like, right, I'm going to try and do things your way. So to make sure he doesn't get away, she hog-tied him and everything, so he's like nice and wrapped and everything. So obviously Delilah's having a nightmare, and Vi had to be there for her because, you know, Robin couldn't be, but, you know, she's asking like, where were you? And it's like, I'm just, you know, checking on Jason's mom. The fact is that it's going to be okay. And it's like, at least, you know, she wants to do this, try to do this the right way, try to do this his way of getting justice. And obviously Delilah's coming in to testify, but Robin can't be there for her. It's like, right, and her Vi's like, are you in trouble with the police? It's like, trouble and wanted by the police, that's a strong word. They're just aware of me. So I need you to go with her Aunt Vi. And so obviously for Delilah, it means a lot to have her mom there with her. So, but she's like trying to be understanding. It's like, right, you're going to be there for Jason's mom, considering everything. And so she ends up confirming who the guy is. And obviously for her, it's the aftermath of like, right, I'm not crying like, you know, if something wrong with me. And, you know, Robin talks about when she lost her dad, it's like, I didn't cry for like a month. And she was like, it's not because you don't care. It's just you're numb. You know, you in particular, you're in shock, like, just this terrible thing that happened to you. And that's the sad thing for, like, Robin, too. It's like, she talks about it later on. She thought that basically sending Delilah to a school like that, being in the neighborhood because like, Vi talks about it and Robin talks about it, people they knew growing up that died. It's like, they've had personal tragedies like this. Like, it's a shame knowing when, like, people, you know, not just like die, but are like murdered in a similar vein of that, you know. And so, you know, and even Vi says, no matter how much money you like have, it can't really, you know, it doesn't make problems disappear. This is like a larger problem. This is a larger issue that, like, no matter how much money you have, like, you have a better chance of escaping it. But even then, it's like, just because you move to a good neighborhood, the world sadly can find a way to creep into your world, you know. The very like unsavory aspects of the world can find its way to your doorstep without, you know, even though you never really see it coming, you know. But then later on, Delilah gets a call and it's someone threatening her to recant her statement. But the thing is, like, obviously Dante's upset about, like, no, our witnesses are being threatened. I made a promise to those families that they would be okay. And it's like, for him, it's like, his boss is like, dude, I don't know what you, he's like, just tell me what we do matters. Because for him, it's like, the system isn't perfect. There's going to be cracks in it. Because I don't know whether it was like, someone ran their mouth off to someone who ran their mouth off to someone else. I don't know. Because they never connected it like, oh, there was a leak in the department, in the sense of like, right, this crime cartel from Europe had like someone on the inside. It didn't seem like that was the case. But Robin does eventually confront Dante about it. Like, because eventually they find out, like, whoever it is that ratted out the Melina cartel is not only an informant for the police, but had to be someone that is connected to the crime syndicate so that whoever it was could benefit. Because basically, the police ended up seizing like a crap ton of their shipment. So they were like, yeah, the syndicate's got to have somebody, like, somebody has to be paying him. So it's like, getting to this guy will help get to the other guys, because they end up connecting it to this dude named Victor. He used to be some form of like military intelligence, and now he's trying to be a legitimate businessman. Well, actually, because the syndicate's kind of running things over in Europe, and now they're trying to branch out here in the U.S. That's what this is all happening, and Victor's kind of handling the side of things here in the U.S. And Robin confronted him, and it's like, oh, like you kind of messed up by doing what you do. It's like, you guys want to kill each other, that's fine, but the fact of the matter is, the moment you start dragging innocent citizens into this, you make it my business. So she tried to give him an out. It's just kind of like, you tell your boy who actually fired those shots to be guilty, plead guilty, and then we're all good. If you don't, he's like, oh, what if I don't? Like, who are you? And it's like, the fact of the matter is, it's like, she makes a reference to something she did back in 2012. It's like, that's who I am. And later on, one of his dudes confirms, like, right, there's not much information about Robin, couldn't find anything out. Thank goodness. I was worried they were going to find about Delilah, but, like, obviously the CIA is very good at, like, getting rid of any records, making it impossible to really track someone down. Once again, that photo that Dante got was like something that slipped through the cracks just because it's something physical, and most like stuff is digital nowadays, so I think that's why it kind of slipped through the cracks. But luckily they couldn't find anything on her. All they know is like, yeah, we confirmed her story about 2012. Yeah, that she is who she says she is. So, because she was saying like, you should be worried about me. You're worried about like, oh, the Molina cartel. And it's like, no, you started a war with them. That's nothing compared to you starting a war with me. And it's like, you've never seen, like, Robin's gotten serious, but this is the most deadly serious we've ever seen her before, just because, like, once again, her daughter's like smack dab in the middle of this. Not only like, because she had gotten shot because of their BS, but also like they had the nerve to call her and threaten her. So Robin ends up calling Dante to like ask him about the informant that could help her, because basically she wants to burn this to the ground. She wants to kind of like, not only, it's no longer just about taking out, because Victor isn't listening to her anymore. So it's like she's got to make a move against him if he's not going to listen to me giving him a warning, I'm just going to have to make a big enough move that you had no choice but to see and not ignore. So she asked Dante about the informant, but he's reluctant to give him the information. But for her, it's like the fact is, there's a boy fighting for his life, and the killer gets to just go for free. Like, yes, he's on bail, but still, it's like, how is that justice? And even later on, having to explain that to Delilah, because Delilah still wants to testify, but Robin's in that position where it's like, obviously she wants to protect her daughter. So it's like, what do I do? Like, she wants to, she feels like she's got to handle this herself, because the cops can't really do too much, because Harry had talked about it, like there's some cases that are connected to this crime syndicate, but it's just so disconnected, like no one knows, no one has a thread to kind of tie all this stuff to this particular syndicate. So Dante was a little conflicted, but the moment he went to see Jason and looking at his phone, because that could have been any kid, but it also could have been either one of his boys, like just as easily. He's putting his own children in that in Jason's shoes, so he gives her the information, and she tortures home, dude. I mean, threatening, and I was like, yeah, at this point, it's gonna feel like a spa. Then it's gonna get a little hotter, then blisters, and then we get to the point at 200 degrees where skin starts peeling off. And it's like, gives the information, because it's like, yeah, if I do this, like, they'll kill me. It's like, oh, you don't think I will? But as she's leaving, she finds out from Delilah that Jason died. It's like, damn, you were hoping that maybe at the very least he would make it through it. Like, that's always the thing. No parent should have to die before, no parent should have their child die before them. It's just, the world shouldn't work that way, and sadly, it does. Obviously we're talking not just in this fictitious world. Like, obviously, like, this is an element and an aspect that is just all too real in real life too. That just, it makes it that much sadder and heartbreaking, because this isn't just like like this is some fictitious tale. Like, this can never happen in real life. It happens more often than you can think, and you would like to think. You would hope like it doesn't happen. But saying like that. That's just, the naive me wanting to believe that the world's a little bit better than what it is, So, but that's what pushed Robin to really kind of want to burn them to the ground. Obviously, Delilah made this decision to go see Detective Dante about wanting to stick to her testifying, but then, like, she sees the picture he has of Robin. She doesn't know what it's about, but in that moment, she starts connecting dots, being like, maybe that's why Dante, like, why your mom didn't want to come to, like, with me when it came to, like, lineup and everything. And obviously she's seeing her, with her mom and everything, and she tells her, like, oh, I'm gonna testify, and she's like, then I'll be right beside you, and I think Robin did mean that, like, regardless of what it means, if it puts her and exposes her in a position, she'll find a way around it, but it's like, of course she's gonna be there for her daughter, and not just send Vi there. It's like, no, I'm gonna be the one to be by your side, because this is something too personal, this is too much pain just for you to hold on to by yourself, so as your mom, I've got to be there for you, be there with you. So... But obviously for her, it's like she wants to ask some questions, but she's not, because she's still trying to process it at the time, because she still doesn't have enough information. So obviously, Vi's worried. Like, should we be worried? Should we be afraid? And like, Robin's like, no. When it's all said and done, when I'm done with this, there'll be nothing left to fear. And you see that look on Vi's face, like, whoa, like, because she's never seen Robin like that, to know Robin's kind of capable of it. Like, what that means, like, oh, She didn't have the full scale in her mind to know, like, what that would necessarily mean, but to see that side of Robin like that, truly terrifying. So Delilah, we see, ends up following her mom, stashing in the back seat, follow her to, like, the garage and everything, and it's like, oh, like, mom found her mom's weapon stash, all the passports and IDs, the wigs, the guns, the money. And it's just like, in that moment, it's like her entire world turned upside down. It's like, it's like, it was kind of like, at least Vi she said, I already had some idea, but Delilah was kind of like, it's until, like, Nikki had pointed out, she never really gave it too much thought. But now it's like, Vi kind of pointed away from it. So she's like, yeah, I'm being crazy. And now it's like, wait, what? Who is my mom, And so Robin ends up confronting them. Luckily, Robin had, like, called the Molina cartel to let them know what was what. And so they showed up and were kind of her backup alone with Melody. But it was more so like Robin handling things herself. All parties involved were dead, because in that moment, like, she also, because it's like, right, the cartel weren't innocent as well. Like, they're very bad people, so they got taken care of both by, like, the syndicate as well as Robin's. Like, everybody, there was a lot of bodies they were dropping. In particular, Victor and the guy who actually pulled the trigger are both dead. And, he's like, why was this so important to you? It's because, she's like, because one of the children you threatened was my daughter. No one messes with my family. And Robin was going to pop him, but it's like he was already dead. I was like, probably want to shoot him just to make sure, because he might be still alive, and him knowing that that's your daughter might turn into an issue later on. But, it seems like that's something we don't have to worry about. Dante showing up at the crime scene because his boss is like, hey, the universe found a way to kind of, like, balance itself out. And Dante's like, yeah, the universe. And so now it's a conversation between him and Robin about going forward. She's like, we could be a good team. He's like, on your team. It's like, no, our team. If we can find a way to go forward, like, find some kind of balance between us working together, we could do a lot of good. We can, do a lot of justice. Because for her, it's like, there's a lot of, like, none of those bodies, like, no one there was an innocent person like Jason. Those were all very bad people. But it's still the thing of, like, yeah, you taking things into your hands like this, leaving a lot of bodies like that. It's still kind of like a... But it makes... it conflicts Dante a little bit, because, yeah, this isn't necessarily justice, but for him, it's like, this is a lane of justice I think he can at least be okay with and not feel guilty about. But it still weighs on him a little bit. Like, right, you're kind of acting outside the law. You're a little criminal-esque in this regard, so... But Dante's like, yeah, let me think about it. But he's like, even if I'm not the one hunting you down, there will be someone else. Robin doesn't say much, but I think at least hearing that from Dante makes her think at least, hey, like, maybe he'll lean more towards joining forces with me. So we'll see where things kind of go for their future. But after, I think Jason's funeral, they come back home and Delilah's like, I'm not okay. And she's like, and she confronts her mom about everything. Why does, like, Detective Dante have a picture of you? Are you in trouble with the police? She's like, you don't know what you said. She's like, I saw your garage. I saw the guns. I saw the wigs. I saw everything. And it's like, she starts piecing everything together. It's like, and Vi's trying to be like, Delilah, honey. And it's just like, for her, it's like, she wants to understand. It's like, what's going on? And it's like, and for Robin, it's like, it's the conversation Vi warned her was going to happen. Even I'm like, oh, because I didn't realize this was the season finale, but also I wasn't expecting us to have this conversation this soon. Not so soon after, because Vi found out, like, what, 2 episodes ago? So it's like, for, like, Delilah to be so quickly behind too, like I said, it might be more like 3, but regardless, she's like, there's a lot you don't understand, but she's like, who are you? It's like, right, because it's one thing to know like your mom did all this. It's like, right, because she's like, I saw they reveal some of the victims, and I know one of the people was the person who shot Jason. So it's like it's probably going to make her feel conflicted because her mom's always told her about like doing what's right. And it's a situation of like, right, you've crossed that line. You've killed people. Like, regardless of it, you've always tried to tell me to be on the right side of things, and you're out here doing all this criminal stuff. You're doing wrong, but it's also wrong for the right reasons. So it's a conflicting thing for like a teenager to process. It's also like, learning that your mom's killed people. I mean, eventually you'll probably find out like, oh, she was the CIA. It's a lot to process. I think the storyline is going to be what I think it is. I think. Because my theory initially was like, she's probably going to spend time with her dad. Like, she's going to be away from Robin for a while just so she can process all of this. Because it's a lot to process. Delilah has to figure out how she feels about all of this. And it's like, because her mom did do some good and like learning like, oh, her mom helps people. But it's also the question, well, what did you do with the CIA? And it's like, a lot of stuff she's not proud of. More so about the people she couldn't save. But still, there's also the situation with... Once again, you got justice for Jason, but it's like, eventually it's also like, what can her mom ever say to her? Because it's like, right, like, you want me to believe in the system saying that, yeah, like, but for you to go outside of the system yourself, meaning you don't believe in it. So what is Delilah supposed to believe, And it's a complicated thing, and I don't think there's a simple answer for this. And I don't think there's going to be a simple resolution to it. It's going to be interesting to see how this all, potentially plays out going forward. The Equalizer has been renewed for a second season, which I'm so excited about. Once again, I wasn't expecting this season to be short, but to be fair, I was recently looking up, like, right, a lot of seasons were cut short this season of television, so I think that's kind of all across the board. Not unless they initially always planned for 10. Even if they didn't, perfect spot to end off the season regardless. But still, like I said, a lot of that's got to be thought of going forward. Once again, I'm blanking on his name, but he's the dude that got introduced like an episode or two ago who's like got history of Robin, the bad guy. So there's things on that front dealing with him because he knows Robin's out there. Robin knows he's out there. There's always potential for that to be something that hits a little too close to home. With the whole Delilah and her dad thing, like, is Delilah going to bring this up with her dad? Once again, maybe in season 2 we get her dad casted because maybe he'll kind of pop in from time to time, especially if Delilah doesn't tell him the truth. Maybe somehow he'll stumble upon the truth himself, and maybe that's going to make him want to take Delilah away from Robin. Like, he'll get full custody. You could definitely see it turning into an ugly situation like that. That could potentially be a storyline in season 2. Also, like, any more crossing of paths with the CIA. God, I'm always blanking on the actress's name. Isn't it Lila Robbins? I believe it is. I could be wrong. The actress, she popped up as like the head of like the CIA now. She was also like, once again, she played Katarina in The Blacklist, and she's also in The Boys. That actress, I want to say her name's like Lila Robbins, but I always feel like I'm butchering it and getting it wrong. But like maybe more appearances from her. Also, like, what about Robin's relationship Bishop? Any fixing that? Maybe, obviously because of her enemy and because of all the CIA stuff, maybe we'll dive into some other things that she took care of in the past and the CIA coming back to haunt her to a certain extent. Another question I also had too is like, well, is this going to stay like the low-key operation that it is just Harry and Mel helping her, or will they eventually get other people on board? I mean, to be fair, Dante's kind of like a associate. Once again, like kind of like the Carter or Fosco element, like in Person of Interest. I know I keep dragging it back to Person of Interest. It's such a good damn show. But regardless, like I said, that's just some of the stuff going on. I'm very, very excited to see what season 2 has in store for us. From what I was looking up, it is going to be like a 2021 to 2022. So I'm assuming we are going to get more of the season probably fall. I'm wondering, are a lot of shows going to be readjusted to like the original time frame, because a lot of stuff got pushed back. So stuff that would have initially got released in the fall I'm curious. We'll see. But it does seem like they have plans for releasing more at least partially this year. But we'll see. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.